Today, I headed over to my local thrift shop to find a piece of furniture that I could flip for a profit. As soon as I got in the store, I came across this solid wood dresser and it was perfect. This is probably the most ordinary dresser you've ever seen in your life, and it was only $40. It was in pretty good shape, but I did think that there was a damaged drawer in the middle of the dresser, but after messing around with it a little bit, I pulled out the drawer and realized that there was just some old clothing and junk behind it, and that was keeping it from going in all the way. So after removing that, it was all good and there was no damage to this dresser at all, other than a few little scratches on the top of the dresser. After scooting out the dresser, I realized there was a nice mirror that went with this, and I was able to look at the back of the top and tell that it was solid wood. So of course, I had to pick this dresser up for $40. What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to Sasser House. In today's video, we are going to be flipping another piece of furniture. I got this dresser at a thrift store for only $40, and it is like the most basic dresser that you could possibly find. I mean, there is no detail on this thing at all. But the good thing about this dresser is there's a little bit of damage on the top, which we're going to sand that down anyways, but overall it is in great shape. So this should be a super easy furniture flip that even beginners can do. So I wanted to share this video today to show you how easy it can be to flip furniture and how few tools you actually need to get started. So I'm gonna take you through the entire process of how to flip a piece of furniture. Hopefully we can take this $40 dresser and turn it into $400 by the end of this video. So if you want to learn how to flip furniture to make a little extra cash as a side hustle, you have come to the right place. Make sure to hit that subscribe button down below and let's get started. The first step in any furniture flip is to remove the old handles and hardware. I'm just using this basic screwdriver, which is really great for furniture flipping because it has this bit at the end that you can actually switch between flathead and Phillips head. So it works great for furniture because you never know which types of screws you're gonna deal with. The handles on this dresser are dated and I am planning on replacing them, but I highly recommend you always place them into a grocery bag just so you don't lose any of the handles or the screws in case you change your mind. Now the next step is to sand down the top. This top had a little bit of damage on it, so I'm just gonna take my Ryobi orbital sander and try to sand it down to the bare wood. I found that this is just much faster than using a chemical stripper, and it makes a lot less of a mess. So in my opinion, I always prefer to sand rather than to strip. But if you're a beginner and you don't have a sander and you don't want to do this, you can totally get by with just using a chemical stripper, or skip this step altogether and prime and paint the top the same color that you're gonna do the rest of the dresser. Make sure when you're sanding to be careful on the edges so you don't mess up any of the detail on the piece. Next, we're gonna take some Dixie Belle gel stain in the color American Honey and stain the top. I'm just wiping this on with an old cut piece of t-shirt, and I wipe on all of the edges first, and then I go with the grain and go all the way across the top. I love the gel stain because it is not nearly as messy as the liquid stain. After getting that completely done and I let it dry for a few hours, it's time to tape off the entire top to get it ready for primer. I'm using blue painter's tape and this little construction paper just to make sure everything is masked off. Then I took the dresser outside onto a drop cloth and got it cleaned up and ready for paint. If you're wondering where these other two dressers came from, just know I'm always working on projects and furniture flips, so make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future videos. I went ahead and got all of the edges of the drawers taped off. That way any overspray from my spray gun will not get on the edges of the drawers and make a messy product. I wanted to leave these videos in normal speed, that way you guys could see exactly how long it takes me to prime an entire piece of furniture using a paint sprayer. This is the Graco paint sprayer, and I will link it down in the description below. And paint sprayers are absolutely a game changer if you're trying to start a real side hustle or business. That is me tripping over my tripod and almost falling down. Like I said, if you want to make this a serious side hustle or a business, I highly recommend getting a paint sprayer because it saves you so much time and you can do multiple pieces of furniture at once. But of course, if you're a beginner or you're just doing a piece for your own home, you totally don't have to have a paint sprayer. You can do just fine with a paintbrush and a little foam paint roller. Okay, now that we have this dresser primed, it is time to paint. And I'm actually going with Glidden Diamond paint, which I've never used before, but I found it on clearance the other day for $1.60. The coolest part was this wasn't an oops paint, like it wasn't pre-mixed. I got to pick out my color. And so I ended up going with the color Olive Sprig, which is this really cool looking green color. So I'm super excited about this paint, and especially the fact that we got it for $1.60. I'm starting this step by removing all of the drawers once again, and then I'm gonna take 2 boards to put underneath the feet of the dresser. That way I don't make a mess on my subfloor of my shed. And you're probably wondering why I'm using a paintbrush now instead of using a paint sprayer, and there's 2 reasons for that. The first reason is that when you're using a paint sprayer, you end up using a lot of paint, and 1 quart of paint, which is all that I had in this clearance green color, is not enough for a paint sprayer. You just go through so much more paint with it. So it's faster, but of course that's the downside, is you need a lot of paint. So that's the first reason. And then the second reason is it is super cold outside right now. And I just found that whenever you're painting outside in extreme temperatures, like really, really cold, or if it's really, really hot, it just causes all kinds of problems. So I just wanted to avoid that, and I am brushing this dresser by hand. So I wanted to leave this regular normal speed, just like the paint spraying video. That way you guys can see about how long it takes to paint with the brush as well. And so I won't show you the entire dresser. I'm just gonna paint this one side in normal speed. And as you can see, it really still is not that long. I believe I timed this at one point for a dresser about this size, and it took about 12 to 15 minutes total to paint an entire dresser by hand. And so I just wanted to show this to you guys, that even though I have a paint sprayer, I still choose to use a good old-fashioned brush a lot of times when I'm flipping furniture. And if you guys are a beginner and you want to get started, you totally don't have to make that big investment. You can just start with a simple paintbrush. My tips for painting with a paintbrush on flipping furniture is to make sure you're always dragging the paint off the edge of a dresser. That way you don't get any pulled up runs of paint, and you don't have tons of excess that's just gonna leave little globs and drips everywhere. So always drag the paint off the dresser, and then I always try to paint the detail parts first, and then I do all the flat surfaces last, like you're watching right now. And I make sure to go in the same direction that the grain pattern of the wood would naturally go. I don't know if that part necessarily makes a difference, but the important part is that you're always going in the same direction. So don't just switch up your direction of your paint or your paintbrush strokes. And as you get better at painting with a paintbrush, you will totally be able to paint a piece of furniture without very many brush strokes and brush lines, and you'll have a really nice smooth finish, just like you would with a paint roller or a paint sprayer. Sometimes I will also go through with a paint brush and do the detail parts, and then a 6-inch foam roller and do all of the flat surfaces. But this dresser was just really, really simple, and it was almost just faster for me to paint it completely by hand. I will link all of the tools that I recommend for furniture flipping down in the description below. So it'll have everything in that link, from very beginner tools like a paintbrush and a simple screwdriver, your basics, all the way to the paint sprayer and some of the power tools if you're serious about furniture flipping that you might want to check out. So that'll be down in the description below. After getting 2 coats of that green paint on, it was time to do a clear coat on everything. I'm using this water-based polyurethane, and it is in the finish semi-gloss. I start with this, just painting it on with a brush. I do all of the edges first, then again all of the flat surfaces. I'm doing the stained top and the body of the dresser. This stuff you can paint over stain, you can paint over paint, and it is an amazing product. If you haven't ever used it, it's kind of a staple in furniture flipping, just to seal in your product and protect the paint. Before we do the second and third coat, we are actually going to go in with some 400 grit sandpaper and a sanding block and lightly sand down the top. And then we will do another coat of clear coat, and I'll probably repeat this step for probably 4 times on the top to make that nice and smooth, and I do it twice on the body of the dresser. Doing multiple coats and sanding in between each coat is essential for getting a nice, smooth, professional finish while furniture flipping. And when you compare yourself to other flippers in your area who don't do this, you can tell such a difference when someone just slapped a coat of stain and a coat of paint on a piece of furniture. Now it's time to put some new handles on the furniture. I got these handles on Amazon, and they are super high quality. I was very impressed and really affordable, so I'll link those down in the description below. I got started putting these handles on, and I realized about halfway through the dresser that the drawers at the bottom actually had different length holes. Luckily, I was able just to drill some new holes, and these handles actually covered the old existing holes, so it wasn't that big of a deal, but make sure you're checking all of the holes and the lengths and sizes before you make your order. Here's a quick reminder of what this simple $40 dresser looked like before we got a hold of it. It was just very plain and boring, and then here is what it looks like now. I got this dresser all staged up and ready to take some good quality pictures to get it listed on the Facebook Marketplace to see if we can sell it. I think this dresser flip was a huge success, but let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. One of the biggest transformations on this piece was that top. Before, it had so many scratches and dings and just like deep cuts in it, and after we sanded it down and restained it with that awesome Dixie Belle American Honey stain, it is just so smooth looking now, and you can see that beautiful wood grain. I'm obsessed with the top. I also love those new handles we got on Amazon. I think that they look so good with this color combination. And so overall, I think this flip was a success. This was such a fun furniture flip to do with you guys. I absolutely love this color combination, this kind of olive green color with the stained top and those brass dresser pulls. I love the way that this looks. I'm so excited to do a piece of furniture with a little bit of color. A lot of times I end up flipping furniture and doing just white or black or just kind of a creamy tan color because that is what sells usually the best. But it was a lot of fun trying out a brand new color today, and I think that it really turned out good. I know this dresser looks a lot better than it did when we picked it up at the thrift store for $40, and I really hope that we can find a buyer for this. We are in the Nashville area, so I'm gonna list it for $400, and it should sell pretty quick. Hopefully this has taught you something about furniture flipping, maybe encouraged you to get out there and try to flip a piece to sell, or maybe even just do a piece of furniture that you have laying around your house that you need to give a refresh. Not as hard as you think, you just gotta get out there and try. You don't need all kinds of fancy tools. You can just start with a paintbrush and one simple dresser. Let me know down in the comments below what you guys want to see next here on our channel. If you have any questions about furniture flipping at all, leave those down there. I'll try to get to all of them and help you guys out. Thanks again so much for watching. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button to help out our channel. And I guess we'll see you guys on the next one. Bye, y'all.